want to, falsely send out a report, the centers aren't going to look at it. They're going to say, oh, well, these guys are bowling. I know these guys. They're bowling.
Yeah.
This report's a piece of junk.
Yeah. Well,
right?
You're
It's timing.
about 10 slides ahead of us, Steve. But
Okay, I'll hold off then.
Everything you're saying is exactly what we run into, and what we want to try to work with y'all today on. Yeah, you're spot on, man. Spot on.
I'll wait. Thanks.
All good. All good. And I see there's a couple comments in the chat there too, but I think we're going to address those here coming up as well. As John alluded to, this report, it has existed for years, but we reformatted it literally 2 weeks ago. And so for Steve, any other association managers, the patch last week that was put out updated this report. And it is league bowler dropout report by league, not the dropout report by center. We were trying to modify both reports, and one of them got messed up. And I said, just get me the league one to be perfect, and we'll roll with that one for now, and we'll adjust the other one later. So league bowler dropout by league. It updated with the email address and the membership number on the other side, on the front side. So really powerful that we were able to get this to everybody, but we knew that, hey, this is right. Times are changing. We got to change to what we do and information we gather. And this was a big way to do it.
So the other part of this is typically, I guess there was a rule. I never realized this, but the normal processing rule was that providers had 30 days to get this information to the association. The association had a certain amount of time to get it back to us. There was that timeline. So, together it was 50 days to get this done. And in the past, in fairness to everybody, the proprietor, this was an important thing to do to get the information together, but it wasn't urgent. You had other things on your plate that you had to take care of. Now, in this environment, it's still important, but it is urgent. So this is urgent and important. So what we have to do is shrink that gap from the time that we get those complete list. And the only way we're going to do that is to work together, because the longer we wait to get the message out, the greater the chance that they're going to find something else to do. They're going to have another habit. They're going to forget about us. So we certainly can't wait 50 days. We've got to turn this around quickly. And that's going to be with that partnership between you and the association to get that information out as soon as possible.
Yeah, so this really, to Steve, to your point, right? They started bowling Labor Day, right? We're now a month beyond that. We're at that 30 days where the league officials have to turn it in. And in many cases, our associations say, well, hey, I got, as you mentioned, 3,000 bowlers, sometimes more, right? I'm busy already. I haven't taken the time to say, who don't I have yet? Who's are not in? This is why we need to empower our groups to work together. I implore our associations. Any leagues you don't have in yet, call them this week. Call the bowling center. Tell them, hey, I want to run you a non-returning league bowler report, but I can't do it because your Tuesday and Wednesday leagues haven't turned in their league and membership applications, right? It's on both of us at this point, the association and the league, to get the information together, whether it's a Dropbox at the bowling center, whether you send a board member to the league next week. I mean, that's what we're encouraging. I mean, I'll never forget when Fresno, California told us that, this was like 5 years ago, they said every year, the first week of September, we send a board member to every single league. And they, as the service, bring the league application and the membership application and the money back to the association. They were like this because they were running into the same issue, right? Hey, well, we think the league started in September, but I don't really know. And it's all just right. We're usually very busy, but we haven't been as busy during these times. And so if you've got less bowlers to do, less leagues to process, unfortunately, let's spend a little extra time capturing those that are bowling. Contact the centers, contact the leagues, and say, hey, I've processed these four leagues. If I call Mr. Polking, hey, Joe, I processed these 4 leagues. I got a Monday, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What leagues am I missing, right? Well, hey, we got a Friday, a Sunday evening, mixed doubles, whatever it is. But if we don't know what's missing, we don't know what we need to go ask for. So really do an evaluation of where you're at now, and then put some board members on it. Hey, we need you to make some phone calls and call them up and go check on these leagues, because we need to get that information. If we can get that next week, we can then be in a position to gather the data for the centers. Looks like we had a timely comment there. Our center sends an email to the association manager with info on each league start dates. We found that to be very helpful. Perfect, wonderful. Definitely having a league schedule from all your centers will help you identify who is not in yet. That's a great comment. Okay. So a little history, or excuse me, a little survey. We did a survey back in September to our associations, our top 120 associations. Otis, I hope you took it. I'm pretty sure you did. We wanted to find out how much is this report being utilized? How much is going on with it? Is it even worth it? Because we hear, as John alluded to, when he saw the report, he was like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need to know, who's not back. And the survey said that only 13% of the centers requested from their association the list of drop bowlers. And while improved, not that much better, only 27% of our associations run the non-returning bowler reports for their centers, right? It hasn't been something we've really worried about. We get it. It's okay. Like what's in the past is in the past, but we're now at a point where this is important, as John alluded to, right? It's urgent and important now. So this information, so valuable to be able to talk to our customers who haven't returned and see how they're doing, and we can't do it without running these reports. So I'll say it one more time, run the report. Once you have all your data in for a center, run the report by league, export it as an Excel and a PDF, send it to the center. Okay, just super important. And it just goes to show, I mean, this data spoke to us exactly what we were worried was happening, but it's the essence of why we're here today. If everybody was doing this, we'd be wasting our time. But we know it's just not part of our normal operation, but this year it probably needs to be, both for an association and for centers. So please, we implore you to understand the importance of this and look at ways we can utilize these reports. So any questions about the data and how to get it? I do have one typed one here from Otis, actually, Mr. Tuck in Cleveland. Can it be determined if leagues have left the centers as well? What I would say to association managers on the line, when you have, you run start new season, it dumps all, and if you're not an association manager, I apologize, this is going to sound foreign, but for Joe and Lynn and Otis and a couple others, this will sound very relevant. When you run start new season, it dumps all of your 1920 leagues and it makes them inactive for 2020, 2021, right? I can't see everybody, but I'm hoping there's some heads nodding. It puts them in, thank you. It puts them in inactive. You then go activate your leagues when the league applications come in. And so you do have a list of what was bowled last year in an inactive, on the inactive button to see what's not in yet. And so we could then find out if the leagues, and I think even what we're hearing too is, hey, some leagues have folded or combined, right, in some cases. And so that's happening too. But there's not a report that's going to know that because it is run by center. So Otis, we won't know if they went from, Bart's Bowlerama to John's Fun Center. We won't know that in the system, but hopefully you'll know and recognize by the league officers and the people in the league that, hey, this league moved from one center to the next, possibly. So that is how that could be viewed on a local level. And then Mr. Polkin, you got a question here too, and we're going to get to that for sure. Any other questions from anybody on how to secure the data? Any centers, any associations concerned? I will say if you're in a situation where you're, if I'm talking from an association side of thing, if you're not sure what you're doing, we're here to help you, right? I've helped run a handful of these reports for people lately. We want to help you provide this information to your centers. Additionally, if you're a center and you're saying, hey, I don't think my association knows what they're doing. They're not on the call today, unfortunately, and they're not as plugged in as I'm hoping they would be. Let me know. Mike.Larsen@bowl.com, Larsen. My name's on the screen, but it says Michael, but I promise my email is Mike. Here, I'll even change it to make it easier. So you can. What we're wanting to do is help you reach out to the association, right? If you've already turned in all your league applications and nothing's been processed, and you know that because you're checking bowl.com and it's not there, let us harp on our folks and say, hey, we need you. Bowling needs you. Your centers need you. Let's get on the ball, right? you might be surprised this happens all the time, right? Centers call us because their association's not helping them with what they want to help. We're here to help do that, okay? So please utilize us if you're having an issue locally, okay? Last chance, any other questions on securing the data before we move on? Okay.
All right, so now the next step, we've got the data, right? We've got a complete data sheet. We know who they are. So the next step is how do we communicate with them? So nationally, the BPAA and the USBC has a partnership, as I mentioned before, on behalf of not just our membership, but the entire bowling community, to reach out nationally to remind people that we're here. The whole goal is to keep bowling top of mind. Okay? Let them know that we're here. We want to let them know that bowling is back and we're ready when they are. So that really addresses that group that's really, either unplugged or unsure. It addresses both of those. So this is the format it's going to take. This is a very early look at the creative design that Mike and Bart are working on. But the whole idea, again, is to keep bowling top of mind. This is you see the email graphic for the emails that are going out, graphicbowl.com. Bowling is ready when you are, and the same thing on social media. So that's going to be available to you, but also we're going to be communicating to the whole industry about bowling being ready. And we'll do it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. Get that message out to everybody.
And so, John, don't spill the beans too much there. But so this is the look and feel of the graphics that we're working on that we would send out on behalf of the organizations here. Okay, we are going to get to resources for you. So hang on. But this is just a look and feel for what we're trying to do, right? To communicate to these past members about, hey, bowling is ready when you are. We recognize they haven't come back yet. And so within that campaign, right, some very standard stuff at this point, but email communication. We're currently working to evaluate the members that have not returned yet, right? Your local database for our associations, you internally have your information about when you processed all the centers or all the leagues from the center. We don't know that, right? Our national database coming from 1,600 associations, we won't know when everybody's processed all their leagues. But we are working with IT, and we got our first report just this past week, and we are going to be targeting this audience to help email them, to share with them what's going on, or excuse me, we're going to be targeting them to ask them why they haven't come back yet, right? So our first step, right, in our evaluation of the memberships and leagues is to determine the audience. We are going to be contacting them through email with a survey. Okay, working on it right now, trying to get it finished this week to get out the door. To really understand our audience, right? But we're talking from a national level, right? Just it's scattered. It's going to be different everywhere, but and it's going to be why we get back to the local market being so important. So in addition to that, we're going to update the COVID page with a letter that would tell them we miss them. We're going to instruct them to go visit their local bowling center, and then the social graphics you saw there. So, right, survey to talk to our members, trying to gather the data that comes in from our associations, but we've got to be really careful that we can't just say, hey, who's not back yet at any point in time, because as Steve alluded to, right, leagues roll in later. And so if we have, let's just say there's 500,000 members, let's say last year we had 1 million members, and this year right now we have 500,000. We know there's still more coming in. So we can't reach out to all 500,000 that are not returned yet because many of them are bowling. So we're having to evaluate our data a little differently. But as a reminder, your local database has that information. You'll know when you've processed all the leagues from the center and can then run those reports. So just a high level on that. I think I saw a question and a comment about how soon will this be ready. Time is important. I'm hoping to have this on the website over the weekend for everybody, and we will get that to you we haven't talked about the local partnership yet, which is coming. But the information and the resources for you, we're hoping to have here for you over the weekend. Okay. So local partnership, I've just alluded to it. John and I talked about, hey, national level, we want the top of mind awareness to come in different avenues. Different people will come in, but we really want to focus on the local communication partnership. The bowling center and the association are uniquely positioned to partner together on this communication effort, right? Partner together. You know the market the best. You have the quickest access to the information. You can share what's going on in your community. And as important, if not more important, you're their fellow bowler and friend, right? John and I called the bowlers in Ohio who haven't returned. Who are we? What can I talk to? I mean, I know I got to say OH to start the conversation, but outside of that, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But you guys and gals, you know, you're the resources that can help make this happen locally, right? I think I just saw a message in the chat come up about, you know, mask and no mask. No doubt that is a epitome of a factor why our associations and our centers are locally are able to do what's best for communicating with their members, because they know what's happening in that local area. It's different everywhere. And so it's really hard for us to communicate globally about the same message when it is a different message that's needed. So like I said, this is the key for me, is our associations and our centers working together. You know what's being required. Centers, you know what you're doing for sanitization and health and safety in your center. Associations, you'll know what's required and what's not as well in your area. And it's just much easier to come from the local group as far as the message on, hey, we miss you and want you to come back. So please feel that we're talking to you about wanting to do some outreach here. And we're gonna have a little more on that in a sec, but John's gonna talk to you about the resources that are coming here in the next couple of days for our associations and centers to utilize.
Okay, so the next step is to get you the tools that you need to connect, because Lewis is right, it's got to happen quickly. So Mike and Bart are putting together the creative. Is going to be some postcards, 4x6 postcard and a 6x9 postcard. And we estimated, you see the cost there, anywhere from 25 to 40 cents for the smaller one, 30 to 50 cents for the large one, including the postage. We're going to provide the creative for those to you. We're also going to provide letterhead. So if in your case you wanted to provide more formal communication from the center or the association, we'll provide the letterhead creative for that as well. And then finally, the web images, we're going to provide the creative for you to use that too. So everything's going to be ready for it. It's still a work in process, but we'll give you a quick look at what we've got so far, what Mike and Bart have so far. This is a sample of the postcard. Again, it's not final. Lewis, to your point, masks are in some areas are more vital than others. I know they're working on trying to come up with something there, but this is a sample of the postcard. It'll be really nice. See, very nice, nice smile, fun place. Bowling is ready when you are is the message. And the bowling is back as America's #1 lifetime participation sport. You're not going anywhere. We realize the time may not be just right just yet, but we miss your smiling face at our center. And when you're ready to reconnect with your league and friends on the lanes, know that we are here for you. So that's really addressing that the group that doesn't want to come out, they're afraid to, and also the unsures. So there's a space below there where you put your center information or any programs you might have. That goes below it. And then obviously over on the right, for those of us that have been around long enough to fill out a postcard, that's where the mailing address goes in the stamp. So that's going to be available for you guys to use. The other thing is on the digital images with the local communication, here's a sample. Again, the smiling faces, just a really nice invitation to come in and have a good time. And you see a sample of the letterhead over on the right, if that's what you chose to use to communicate.
And so just to follow up, I'm in the process of archiving documents now and renaming them and labeling them. We're also putting together an index of what all the documents are, because it's going to be a folder that you can download and you'll have all of these resources. But the file will say, hey, read me first, and it'll tell you what each one of them are, right? There's some reminders too about, hey, when you're doing, if you decide, hey, we want to mail some postcards to our 200 members that we didn't have returned this year, it'll, there's a reminder about best practices with the Postal Service, and also that, stamps for a postcard are cheaper than the first class stamp. So just a couple key reminders there. The letterhead, it'll have both a PDF and a Word doc, so you can modify and edit it however you see fit. Some of the examples we thought that might work on a letterhead would be if you wanted to put more detail as a center about what leagues are available come January, right? You could do a more detailed letter with that versus a postcard that really is, just pure top of mind and we miss you. So working on them now. I've gotten most of them. We do have in both the digital and the postcard options, we do have mask and non-masked versions, because that came actually from the session last week that we did live. Was, hey, some places we want to show a mask as representative of our center being open because it's required by all staff and possibly by all the people that come in the building. So we wouldn't want to send out in certain locations, something like this that talks about, that looks and feels like there's no mask mandate. I would say, South Dakota as an example, we've seen a lot of images from that area where they're not wearing masks, but you come here, you bowl in my league that I bowl on Tuesday, everybody was wearing a mask. So no doubt that we want to try to provide both options. And so we appreciate the feedback that allows us to make what you need. And I'll also say that while we're hoping to put these out over the weekend, this doesn't have to be it. If you have some feedback and say, hey, I'd really like one with some youth bowlers on it or something like that. I do have one that has a little girl on there, but if you have one if there's something you'd like as a center and you say, hey, I think this would be good for a lot of people to have as an idea, let us know and we'll come take a look with our graphics team to see if we can mock one up for you. If you have pictures that you'd like to be a part of this, please send them to me. We can give those to our graphic design team too. That's kind of one thing, that these are kind of more stock images, as you might imagine, but some of the ones you're going to see in the creative and some of the ones that were back on the other campaign here, these came from a local bowling center. Let me just remind you as an example. Sorry to flip back here, but you can see this one here. This came from a local center, right? The staff there wearing masks. So if you have pictures like that you would like to share with us, we'd be happy to take them.
Mike, Lois had a question about if it's possible to come up with a trail for open play bowlers, saying focusing on league being a great option for a sport to participate in since it's non-contact. So any plans to show open play or to highlight?
I sure think it's possible. Lewis, I'd love to, maybe hop on a call with John and you afterwards to discuss, or if we have time at the end of here, if we want to stick around and just discuss how you'd envision that working. I think that would be cool.
Great stuff. So keep in mind, I mean, if there's any questions, please pipe in, but know that the local effort should dovetail with the national effort. So what Mike and Bart are doing, reaching out nationally, keeping bowling top of mind, then it's all up to you to communicate locally. What are you doing? Okay, so the two working together should be a really great fit, keeping bowling top of mind and saying, here's what we're doing for you. Any questions at this point for Mike?
Just one question. Is this presentation going to be available so we can share it with the centers that aren't currently on the call?
Yes, we're recording it. And then also we'll have available the national one too that Mike and Bart did. So yes.
Thank you.
It was in the e-news yesterday as a reminder. If anybody hasn't checked that from USBC side of things, we put the link to the recording from before and reference that the documents will be coming here in the next couple of days. And then this specific one is also being recorded and will be shared. Okay.
Okay, so the next step, after we've identified the user, we've got the national and the local communications out. The last step is to share some best practices with you. So Bart got on the phone and talked to some proprietors. I did as well. Much of what's going to happen with local activation, again, it depends on what the government restrictions are or are not. That's really going to be what's driving this whole thing. Now, this was something that the proprietors I talked to, I didn't even bring it up, but they brought it up and they said, boy, if I could get previous year's report, that would be great for me if I could do that. Mike, are they going to be able to do that?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that data is in WinLabs from the local association, and if you're not sure that they can do that for you, like I said, we have this year the current drop bowlers are where the local activation is critical. But if you're looking for years in the past, we can pull that from national because those years are coming and gone.
more great material for it. Also, one of the proprietors, they had several locations. They were calling, the management and up was calling the people, calling their bowlers that they knew weren't coming back because they weren't comfortable going out. And they weren't trying to sell them anything. It was sincere, and that's the whole key to this whole thing. It was a very sincere reach out, just checking on them, asking them how they're doing. It wasn't about making any money. It was just about saying, how are you? How are you doing? Can we do anything for you? We miss you, and when the time is right to come back. But they weren't trying to sell them anything. It was just a sincere wellness check. Then there was another best practice was inviting this group out to practice at a time that's convenient and comfortable for them. They may not want to join a league. There's too many people around, but there may be times they can come in when it's not that busy and they're a little bit more comfortable. And the other key to this was they gave it a discounted rate or no charge. And so again, this isn't about making money. That'll come later. This right now is just trying to get them comfortable, keeping bowling top of mind, not trying to make anything off of it. Here's the time you can come in, try it out, see if you're comfortable, and then when you're ready, you can jump back into the leagues. Another thing that came up was inviting some of this group out for a tour. Very small individual tours so that they can see what you're doing as far as safety. They can see that your staff is wearing masks. They can see that you sanitize. They can see that you have stickers on the floor to keep people 6 feet apart. That whole hygiene theater term, which I can't wait for it to go away, is important. People want to know that you are taking care of them and being sanitary. That's a key. Okay. Another thing which seems kind of counterintuitive was hosting a private We Miss You session or a party with limited occupancy. So, obviously you'd have to limit how many people, but a little bit of a party. Maybe it's getting kind of late to have any of it outside up in Ohio, but bring them in, a little party, again, going through what you're doing to keep them safe. A big one is senior only times. Several of the centers I talked to that weren't doing well with seniors were not doing this. Some centers that were really hitting it out of the park and getting their seniors back, they had senior times only, or people that are in a high risk group. The center was closed to the public. A couple of them that I talked to, well, I don't have anything else going on at that time. It's early in the day. There's it's primarily my seniors. So I closed and I let it's their time. A lot of the grocery stores, I don't know if they're doing it up in Texas, they were doing that. The grocery stores had senior times only. And if you weren't over 65 or whatever, you couldn't come in. So that will make your seniors feel better. And it also makes them feel important. That worked well for those folks that were doing it. Certainly something to consider. Flex leagues, not great for the secretary. You have to keep track of it. But the option was, okay, anytime during this 7-day period, you come in and bowl. Again, just to keep them engaged in that league, we're there for you if you want to do that. Another best practice, short season leagues, short season practice leagues, just to get them in as it keeps rolling, as restrictions hopefully get lifted and vaccines come out and people get more comfortable, then having those short season leagues or practice leagues are good. And then also have a ball leagues, which is certainly nothing new, been around for a long time, even back when I was running center. So, but it's a little bit different. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But one of your members, Tim Ross, did a great job. I think, or told me for 40.
I think Tim's on the call now too. Actually,
I can't see, and I'm afraid to touch anything because every time I touch something happens. So maybe Tim, when we get to that part, you can speak to it. But I understand that Tim was disappointed that he only got 40. He was shooting for 48. So that's something that's you don't have to some of these things can just be taken out of the cabinet and just tweak them a little bit for today's environment. The best ideas are already out there. We just have to use them. Okay. All right, Mike. Next slide.
Yeah, I think 1 moment.
This has been a glitchy day. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, it's like my first time. Okay. So our local association best practices. This is where I'm going to, I might be preaching to the choir somewhat. I know we have some strong association reps and very passionate ones on the line, but we're really imploring you guys and gals, and let's work with our centers to find out how we can help them. And so my first reaction was, hey, let's put an ad hoc committee together and let's get our people. It's not a typo, because there are a difference between, normal people and people. Folks who can talk to folks and be compassionate and understanding and want to hear from them. And let's put them together in a room and get them organized and to figure out a way that they can help their proprietors, their centers, their leagues talk to these bowlers that have not come back. This group, get them in the room, share the reports with them so they can understand the market, understand which centers are seeing a solid return, which ones might need some more help, and then discuss with the centers what they're doing, right? What each center is planned. You might have one center that says, hey, we're good. I've got the reports too. I'm doing everything on my own. We're rocking it. I'm good to go. You might have another center that says, I don't know what to do and I need some help. Supplement your efforts there with the volunteer manpower and woman power, because there's really no better time right now than try to help in a new way, right? It's an unprecedented league season and the sport needs unprecedented support. Imagine if you're a local association and there's a couple hundred drop bowlers and you put together 4 or 5 associations, board members, and you say, hey, we're gonna call the folks for you. And we've got our Excel document here, and we're going to write little notes next to what each person's saying, finding out why they haven't come back and bowled yet, right? We're just going to call them and say, hey, bowl, we noticed you're not bowling a league this year. Just hope you're doing well. Wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Let them, let the customer, let the member share with you what's going on, how they're doing. They might share with you, hey, I had COVID, so I'm just nervous. I'm scared. And you say, well, I hope you're being safe, and just know that, bowling misses you, but we hope you're safe, and you can join us again when you're ready. Something very simple, right? But the message that will send, if they got a phone call from the Bowling Association, bowling is calling them to see how they're doing. I think that can be pretty powerful. And then if we're keeping notes, we can then turn that over to the center and let them know, hey, this 20%, they're not ready. And they think they're not planning to bowl the rest of the season. So we might want to keep them on the reserve list for next fall. But this sounds like they might not have known, right? We talked about earlier, the unplugged group. They might just not be aware. We want to send that group the information on our January leagues that are restarting, or the second half, or the second third of the league, right? But if we have information like that we can share, we'll really have the best avenue to go out and communicate with this audience later to get them to come back to bowling. Okay, but just think of how powerful that could be. The image it would present to a bowler if someone called them and said, hey, just calling to see how you're doing. On behalf of bowling, we miss you. Central Ohio USBC, whoever it is, at Springfield USBC, we miss you. Understand the times have been tough, and hope you're doing okay. And just know that we're here for you when you're ready to come back to the game. I mean, just the emotional attachment to that will be so strong. And you know what? Even if it's a voicemail, I know in this day and age, phone calls. This day and age, specifically with the campaigns going on, we probably all get spam calls every day about wondering who we're voting for or wanting to give us information. So even if we just have a script ready for a phone message and we leave them a message on behalf of bowling, I think that's some pretty cool stuff. So you might have other ideas, right? You get your people together in your association, they reach out to their centers. They might have different ideas on what they want to work with. You might say, hey, you know what? We got $500 extra bucks here. We'd like to mail out a few hundred postcards to our bowlers that haven't returned. We want to have that touch point in the mailbox as well, right? Integrated marketing communication plan is similar messaging in different avenues. And so really encourage our associations. If tournaments have been on hold, annual meetings have been on hold, we're now processing leagues that have started. Let's put some volunteer hours behind this effort and really help our centers out.
I mentioned before about a have a ball league, and it's worth just taking a couple minutes to talk about this, because part of what came up in conversations with proprietors, even though I didn't necessarily say it this way, but I think it's probably a fair statement to say that you guys are really overwhelmed and overworked with all this stuff that's been going on. And so there was an ask for, boy, if I had something that was a turnkey, ready-made promotion that I could reach out, let people know that we're here, that would be great to help me. So this is one. And again, Tim, if you want to pipe in at any time, please do. But this is one that's still out there. It's still available for you. But this is that turnkey program. It's Havaball, which is nothing new. It's been around forever. But the twist with this is you're in control of who you market to. It's going to be families, young adults, youth. There's separate creative for each group. You set the number of weeks, you set the cost, you set the format. So it's whatever works for you. What happens with this is you get the materials provided, and it's a subsidized ball, and it's not just a plastic ball. This is a reactive ball. So partnered with Brunswick and Classic, and got this subsidized. I guess if you go into a pro shop, it's going to cost you $99, but the landed cost to you is $40. And so this isn't a sales thing, but this is a turnkey program that's out there. It's available to you. I think it's available as long as supplies last. It's one of those things. Obviously it works. You know, Tim floored 40 bowlers on that, if I've got that correct. So this is there for you as one of those programs.
Yeah, if you are interested, I have a couple of leagues that we're not going to run. It was one from the ODT and one from Chase Bank that were both kind of small leagues and weren't going to run, but there were some people who wanted to bowl. So I reached out to both of those groups and got teams from each of those, that the people who still wanted to bowl. And then I had some people who were interested in bowling in the league because I had posted it. So between that, we got 10 teams. And like you said, I was disappointed. I thought we were going to get more. We had 10 teams sign up quickly, and then it kind of just stalled. But I'm going to do it again in January because I think it's a home run.
Yeah, that especially in this environment, that is amazing. So it can be done. Thank you, Tim.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, so in closing, everybody, again, thanks for your time. But identifying who these people are and getting to them quickly is the key to this whole thing, right? We want to shorten that time that they don't think about us. We want to keep bowling top of mind. So doing this quickly in conjunction with the association is so critical.
And working together to get the reports and evaluate the information, just so impactful. And like we talked about a few times, locally is where that information is gathered and processed first. And so, working together to share that data is just so valuable.
Then working together to get the information out, to communicate with this group. Again, it's a partnership. You got to communicate with them. What are your programs that are going to dovetail with the national program?
And for our centers, hope there's a strategy in place to try to reactivate these leagues. Like I said, we've heard of a lot of we've heard of a lot of leagues changing their structure, their formats, right, to go into quarters or thirds to try to, hey, a couple months from now, we hope the new group is ready to come back. And so keeping that group informed that there are options still for them to come back, even though if they've traditionally only bowled starting in September, getting someone to come back in January, it's not all that different. It's still 60 feet, 15-pound bowling ball, 39 boards on the lane. So we hope that there's ways that we've got them to come back, whether it's through a short season program or to join into an existing fall league.
Yeah, and then if I may speak for the proprietors, the association folks, proprietors, that's their daily life, is they're trying to provide that great guest service. So here's your chance to provide some, the next level of service to the proprietors. And proprietors, you need to work together with them to make sure that they can do that, give them the tools and resources they need. But that's our challenge to you, is to step it up and then work together so we can get this message out.
Yeah, so just in closing, right, imperative to work together to keep the single most difficult, call it worst year of fall league bowler decline in recent history. The good news is, right, we can look at it one way or the other. We can sorrow in it, or we can say, hey, what's next and what do we do now? And so we have the tools and the ability now to make a difference. And so now it's time to put that to work. So, John, anything to add at the close before you take some?
I would just reiterate, working together, doing this quickly. And fall startup is not over. It's going to keep going on. Do not give up. Use this data, use this information, use the feedback you get from your peers and what's working for them, and just don't give up. This is not over. We have to keep plugging away. I mean, it's amazing to say if you're down 20%, wow, that's not bad. Can you imagine a few years ago say you're down 20% fall over? So You got to keep kicking, got to keep scrapping. We'll get there, but hopefully these tools will help you. So don't give up. Okay, so with that, if there's no more questions, Mike, thank you so much for all your information. Jenny, thank you for letting us do this. And I wish everybody well, and I hope you stay safe. And if there's anybody that wants to stay on and ask a question or two of Mike, you can do that as well. Okay.
Thank you, John and Mike. We really appreciate it. And Ruth, we'll get all the recorded session out to you so you can share with your locals, and we'll share it with all our centers as well.
Thanks, Jenny. We'll take care of it.
We're in this together.
You betcha.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay well.
So Lewis, if you're still on, I got the question from you about material for open play bowlers, focusing on league being a great sport for non-contact, right? Pretty good idea. I've jotted it down here, and I'll take it back to our design team to see if there's some stuff we can mock up that would. Are you thinking email graphic for that? Are you thinking a postcard? What are you thinking?
I was thinking email graphic, maybe something to use on Facebook, but I just jotted down some notes after you said stick around. I thought maybe we could use a tagline, something like, and this might be wrong, but be social while social distancing. Concentrate on bowling being safer than other sports since it's non-contact, and at any age can participate. Build on relationships with friends and family. Just a couple thoughts.
Yeah, I think those would be great, and we've built out the stuff for bowling's ready when you are as kind of our message on this one. But if you got some local taglines to use in some of your messaging, I think that those all sound really good to me too.
Well, I think the drop bowler people, your tagline is great, but this is going after a new market. This is people that are currently open bowling.
Sure.
Something a little different.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you can't go to the gym like you used to. How would you come here? We got different weights, different weights here than you got there. Something, yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any?
No more questions for Mike or Jenny while you got her? Okay. All right. Well, if that's going to be it again, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging on. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks for your time. Good luck for the rest of the startup. Okay.
Yeah, don't hesitate to call if you got any questions. Some one-on-one stuff. We're happy to help. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for everything you do.
So long.
Thanks, y'all. Be good.